Hello everyone and welcome. The new Zelda Breath of the Wild 2 trailer has fueled tons of theories and speculation. Countless fans have been deep diving into the trailer frame by frame to dissect it as much as possible in order to answer some of these mysteries. In this video, we have a few of our own and some favorites that we've seen from our community on Discord. If you're a fan of videos like this, please give this video a like and subscribe so you don't miss future Zelda in Theory videos. If this video gets enough support, we will make a follow-up with 5 or possibly even 10 more of the best theories surrounding this new trailer. So comment some of your favorite Breath of the Wild 2 theories below. We will heart and like every comment, and we will give you a shout out and credit you if we end up using your theory. Oh, so that you all have something to look forward to for tomorrow, our next video is going to be covering the top 5 theories on who this is, because everyone seems to have their own theory, their own opinion, and their own backstory as to why everything is the way it is. So we are going to be picking the top 5 from our Discord, from those who comment below, and those who send it to us on Twitter or Instagram.
Sky Islands are the sacred realm merging with Hyrule. This theory is interesting, though we don't necessarily believe it. We think it's the lowest on the list compared to the others, but the theory suggests that the islands floating in the sky aren't necessarily land masses from Hyrule, but rather locations from the sacred realm crossing over to Hyrule. We've seen various different versions of this theory, but the most common compares the look of the Sky Islands to old artwork of the Sacred Realm from A Link to the Past, as well as the way it looks within A Link Between Worlds. Basically saying that because the Sacred Realm has tons of clouds at your feet, it must mean the Sky Islands are either in the Sacred Realm or crossing over from the Sacred Realm. For further evidence, they state how we can see Hyrule Castle, which we know is from Hyrule, yet we can't see any other islands. It is only when we somehow travel through whatever barrier is keeping them separated. We have a few things that we believe debunk this. Again, it is an interesting idea, and Nintendo has actually done something similar before. We have the Twilight Realm taking over Hyrule in Twilight Princess. We have the Silent Realm from Skyward Sword, which seems to act like a layer placed on top of Hyrule. However, with the Sacred Realm, it isn't necessarily all in the clouds, high in the sky. They just wanted it to be represented in a way similar to Hyrule's version of heaven, where the goddesses who created everything went, or this limitless, powerful golden artifact known as the Triforce resides. Just because we don't see the mainland of Hyrule through certain scenes doesn't automatically mean it's all taking place in another world or realm. It can, but not necessarily. One great example is Skyloft. Most people on Skyloft thought the land below was just a myth because it was hidden by thick clouds. We also do see Hyrule below at certain times during the trailer. The reason we believe we don't see other islands floating when the castle rises up is simply because the other islands are either way too high to see or just haven't risen yet, as it seems Hyrule Castle is the first landmass to do so, with the other areas rising later on. We also know the Sacred Realm becomes the Dark World we see in A Link to the Past, which doesn't take place high in the sky, but on the ground as a somewhat altered version of Hyrule. Besides, Ganondorf has never had the ability to really escape from Hyrule to the Sacred Realm, or from the Sacred Realm or Dark World back to Hyrule, so why would he be able to go beyond that and start combining the two of them now?
Exploring above and below. This one is simple. We knew Hyrule itself would have lots of changes as stated by Enuma long ago. The first trailer and first game hinted at areas beneath Hyrule. After all of the Sheikah shrines take place entirely underground. We know Hyrule has other cave systems as well. Most temples were built into the side of a volcano, under the lake, or underground in general. This time, we even see some areas like the Arbiter's grounds, which are completely underground now. Let's not forget about the Forgotten Temple either. So seeing this incredibly long cave in the first trailer that's so long Zelda and Link had sleeping bags and had to stop and refill their water, so it made sense for a good amount of underground exploration to be in the game. Now, we have the sky above Hyrule as well. So not only do we get a new altered version of Hyrule, but we also have above and below Hyrule to explore.
Restoring Link's arm. This is another quick one, but instead of just one theory, this one sort of branches off into multiple theories that can all work together, while also standing on its own, despite whether the others end up being true or not. In the new trailer, we see Link's arm being consumed by malice. We can see he is clearly in pain, and we can see the effects this has later on when his arm looks completely different and damaged. However, we also see Link's arm with the power of the green spirit hand. This has led some to believe that the malice would have not just cursed or damaged Link's arm, but may have done the same to his entire body, if not simply killing him. But the spirit hand steps in and saves him, and stops the malice from infecting the rest of his body. We could go a few steps further and say this infection or damage caused by the malice could be the reason Nintendo uses to have Link begin with 3 hearts all over again.
Almost like a permanent version of what happens when Link has to pull out the Master Sword, and it also slowly drains your life away.
Maybe as we complete new dungeons or temples, similar to Twilight Princess having Link defeat bosses to remove the shards of Twilight from infecting them, each dungeon or boss in Breath of the Wild 2 somehow removes more and more of the malice, allowing Link to heal himself over time while also allowing more unique powers or abilities to be used by him and his new green hand.
Similar to how the Master Sword was powered up in Skyward Sword by visiting all of the goddess fountains and getting the power from their flames, which Zelda also visited these same fountains when she was on her journey to unlock her power as well. Maybe it's the flames of the goddesses once again that destroys some of this malice. Link being infected by this evil could also be why we don't see him with the Master Sword. Because, although there are some conflictions, we are told in a previous game that nothing dark or evil can actually touch the Master Sword, the blade of evil's bane, which is why just standing next to it was enough to break Link's curse in Twilight Princess and transform him from Wolf Link.
Loftwings to better travel between islands. We had a rumor come out about a month before the Nintendo Direct that stated Skyward Sword HD would have a huge impact on the story and gameplay of Breath of the Wild 2. At the time, of course, not many people believed it, as a lot of people simply thought it was going to be Hyrule, possibly a floating castle, and the new world or new areas to explore would be all underground. The exact opposite of Skyward Sword taking place way above Hyrule, not below. Now we can see just how correct that leak was. We don't just have Hyrule Castle and maybe 1 or 2 other small areas in the sky. Similar to Skyward Sword's sky exploration being limited, and even the first Breath of the Wild only having the divine beast 𝐓𝐻𝐻𝐻. We have what seems like multiple areas that are as big or bigger than Skyloft, and we have only seen islands from one area above the Thundra Plateau. We have yet to see just how many other islands are floating around. Loftwings would be the perfect way to travel between them, and no, in no way would it ruin exploration, especially if it's something you get towards the middle or end of the game. Breath of the Wild already let you literally warp anywhere, skipping all the exploration between areas, so I don't want to hear that excuse. Besides, we also have a motorcycle of all things. We see Link extremely high above the floating islands, and then he begins paragliding to one of them. We don't see what he jumped off of. If not an island, it could be a Loftwing that allowed him to fly that high. How would we be expected to even reach them? Unless 𝐓𝐻𝐻𝐻 or Cass is going to be our own personal taxis during this game? In the same way that Twilight Princess HD's special Wolf Link amiibo worked in Twilight Princess and Breath of the Wild, many fans are hoping the Loftwing amiibo will work in a similar way, adding a little bit more value to the price some fans have complained about. If Breath of the Wild 2 does have Loftwings, I don't see them locking it behind an amiibo, but rather working similar to the amiibo that gave you Epona. You already have many horses to choose from, but only amiibo can give you Epona, Link's horse. So if we already do have Loftwings, perhaps the amiibo will give you Link's Scarlet Loftwing that is faster or has better stats.
Zelda Falling is a misdirection. This kind of gets into one of the theories on who this character is, as a lot of people actually believe it is Zelda. So this theory could trail off into that one. Anyways, I mentioned this one in my trailer breakdown and analysis video. We see Zelda falling an incredible distance. The trailer wants us to think this will be a reason for Zelda to be out of the game, like usual, and having the focus just on Link. However, I think this is a misdirection. If Zelda did fall this distance, she would likely die from the impact. Nintendo isn't going to have you play through Breath of the Wild to save Zelda, then immediately reseal her or put her in timeout again for you to do the same thing yet again. So the real world reason is Nintendo and especially Aonuma have spoken out about not wanting to do the same thing over and over again, which is what made them create Breath of the Wild in the first place, and drastically change the entire Zelda formula to a point where we got a Zelda game with no traditional dungeons, bosses, weapons, or hardly anything you would come to expect from a traditional Zelda game. Now, the in-game reason, Zelda has the power of Hylia, the literal goddess of Hyrule. Zeldas of the past have been shown to know how to teleport, and if for some reason her magic doesn't kick in the face of death, like we've seen it did against Calamity Ganon, the Sheikah Slate, if she has it, since it was hers before it was Link's, and she was the only one who was constantly using it in the past memories, and even in Age of Calamity. As we all know, it has the power to easily and quickly warp anyone anywhere, even as you're falling. Finally, we've seen the Spirit Hand grab onto Link's hand and save him. Then we see Link controlling the Spirit Hand. We know it can rewind time, like it did in the trailer with the spiked ball. It can create what seems to be an updraft that allows Link to not just jump higher or be lifted higher, but creates a portal that lets him pass through solid objects. And these are just the abilities that we actually know of, not including the other abilities Nintendo has yet to confirm. And any of those abilities, on their own, would be able to save Zelda. Why would Nintendo tease Zelda Falling? Well, they also tease Link doing the same thing, like we seen in the first trailer, and we know that he is saved by the hand grabbing his own hand. So I think there could be a chance that when we see Link lifting up his arm in the first trailer and using the Spirit Hand, he may be using it to grab or lift up Zelda in the same way he was saved. And if not, we know he has the power to literally reverse her fall, as he reversed other things in the trailer. It would be the perfect way to set up and show what kind of abilities the hand could have. It would also be the perfect way to set up and show what kind of abilities the hand could have.